Check out the new Dodge Challenger, folks, for 2025. Right here. That's what they want us to drive, people. That's where we're headed. This is the future. Look at this dude. And welcome back to the channel, everybody. And today we are going to talk about credit and cars and how I specifically have bought so many cars in such a short period of time while trying to keep my credit perfect this entire time, considering that all those inquiries from when I got the Dodges, when I had to return the Hellcat, after I got the Lambo, my wife's car, how all these things happen, and what I do specifically, and who I hire, and what they do to get my credit back to where it needs to be every time I buy a car, so I don't get hosed completely on my interest rate. But first, we gotta shuffle some cars around, because I'm showing you this because one car, two cars, three cars, four cars, the jailbreak possibly, most likely, on the way. So that'll be, what is that, 5 cars. And if I buy the Lamborghini Huracan, that'll be 6 cars. We are going a little crazy, yes, but there is a method to the madness, and I'll explain that to you once we're on the road. Alright, so today's video is going to be a little different. We're going to talk about credit. We're going to talk about how you can make your credit better so you can benefit from lower interest rates and maybe even get qualified when otherwise you wouldn't get qualified for the loan. But first, we're going to head to see a buddy's project, and I think y'all will love this. I don't know about you, but one of my favorite cars in the world was the 1964 Lincoln Continental, the convertible and the hardtop version with those reverse doors. I'm using that word so YouTube doesn't nail me. Those reverse doors, which are awesome, and that car is just beautiful. But I think there's nothing cooler than taking an old car that was dead and gone to the world and bringing it back to life. And my buddy is bringing back a 1964 Lincoln Continental from the brink of demise, where it was gone forever, and he's going to bring it back. So we're going to go check that thing out. And on the way, I'm just going to give you a little preface of what we're going to talk about after we look at this car, which is getting your credit squared away. And a lot of you have hit me up on my comment section as well as in my DMs on Instagram, asking me, based on my last few videos with buying the jailbreak and looking at Huracans and all this stuff that's going on, and by the way, really close to working these things out, how the heck I'm getting my credit squared away, because I did tell you all that with what I did during the summer and buying all these cars, buying the white Camry and the black Camry, and then in one month, and then buying this Scat Pack, getting rid of the Hellcat, paying off a loan, which kills your FICO score, all these issues really did hurt my FICO score. Applying for new loans, getting tons of inquiries, dealerships telling me, don't worry, we'll only run you through one bank, and then they run you through 15 banks. I mean, these are all issues that we all have to deal with and find solutions for. And I believe a good strategy to getting a good car loan is to be very deliberate about your FICO score and how to get it as good as you possibly can before you buy a car. Sometimes it doesn't work out. When I'm jamming all these cars at the same time, everything else, I'm just taking hit after hit. But with this jailbreak, with the Lamborghini Huracan, if I decide to do both, or decide to do one now, one later, whatever the outcome is in the next few days, I know that that car is going to be a car I keep probably for a lot longer than a lot of the other cars I've bought. And for that reason, I want to make sure I've got the best possible loan. I also want to make sure I get approved for that loan. Despite my income being very, very strong and on my job for a very long time, the compensating factors, and unfortunately the overwhelming factors that lenders consider, are your credit. And what I've found is you could be worth millions of dollars, but if your credit score is 600 or in the 500s, the bank's still not going to give you the loan. It's the weirdest thing ever, because you could be super strong financially, have tons of money in the bank, and just happen to be like me and buy 4 or 5 cars in a matter of a 90-day period, and run your credit cards up, out shopping and going on trips and doing lots of fun stuff during the summer, and getting hit with high utilization rates on your FICO score, on your credit, with that crushed your credit score, and then having to unravel all that mess, I believe you got to have somebody who can help, who can do it for you. And I've got people that do that for me. Having good people on your side is important. Having good vendors, people you can trust. So I've created a situation where I have a lot of control over my credit. It just takes a little bit of time, not a lot of time, and sometimes there are some shortcuts. And I'm going to share with you all those shortcuts and ways that you can make sure that you can buy the car you want to buy, get approved for the loan, get the right terms, and get the right rate. But right now, let's go check out this Lincoln Continental, and I think you'll be blown away on the project this kid's taken on. Look at that. What's up, man? All right, Jed, tell me about the car, man.
Dude, 1964 Lincoln Continental, side doors. Got this thing, and it was, it looked actually pretty good. It really did. Looked like a solid car. Had the thing sandblasted completely, and found, you know, that the floor pans were rusted out. The fenders were dinged up and pretty bad. Now you can see some of the Swiss cheese under there.
Look at that.
Yeah. I want to do a frame off restoration. This isn't a frame on car. This is a unibody. So we took it all the way down to as far as we can go, put it on a cart, which we built.
Look at that.
Basically took off all 4 fenders, and we're going to put the doors back on after we get these floor pans on, and we're going to weld everything back together.
Wow. So how long is this going to take?
I figured 2 years.
Oh my God.
I'm about a year into it right now.
That's massive patience.
Yeah.
So where's the engine?
So engine's right here.
You know what would have made this car just even better?
What was that?
Is to get a Hellcat motor and stick it into that guy.
You know,
we can still do it.
If it wasn't a Dodge, then I would agree.
I bet you we can still do it.
So a lot of people get really, really angry because for those of you that don't know the LS, that's actually a Chevy engine. So it comes out of the Corvettes is where you saw. So this is an LS3. Yeah. So super high horsepower. The thing is they're bulletproof, right? They don't leak oil. They don't really have any problems.
So this is kind of like a resto mod then type thing.
It's
right?
definitely a resto mod. This isn't super authentic. This is the color that I'm gonna do on my car.
Oh, so beautiful!
You can kind of see this.
That's awesome.
I've got a couple little.
It's like a Range Rover.
Yeah. So this is a Range Rover Blue. It's called Huron Blue. I'm gonna have a white top on it. I've already named the car too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, so because of my girls and everything, and because this thing started so ugly and nasty, I'm gonna call it Cinderella.
Cinderella.
So I'll have little Cinderella put in the
very cool.
Inscript on the very back corner.
Very cool.
So
he's got a YouTube channel called Too Smooth 64. I'll put a link in the description below. If you want to watch this thing get rebuilt, go there. You're filming consistently, right?
Yeah, I am filming pretty consistently. It's, you know, one of a kind. There's only 3,000 of the 1964s that were actually made, a little over 3,000 originally, that were convertible. But these things are notorious for getting hit in the front because they're so big. People ask if I have a boat. I say I have a land yacht.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they say the same about my Dodges.
This is a parts car here.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so I actually have 2 of them.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
So
you're not messing around.
No, I took the back quarter panels off of this car last week.
Unreal. Well, you got guts, man.
Yeah, dude.
You know, I did a rear diffuser on my car.
Oh, really?
It took about as long as it's going to take you to do this thing.
Rear diffuser?
Not on that one yet.
Oh, okay.
The little jobs, I make them really hard. A lot of cussing, a lot of anger.
Yeah, well.
So this would be, I just don't have the patience for this stuff. This is heroic. Well, very cool, man.
Yeah, so it'll be really cool when it's done. It'll be one of a kind. Full digital dash.
No kidding.
It's going to be bagged, so 4 bags, so airbags, so it'll set right on the ground.
Oh man.
And it'll be a real cruiser. So.
Well, follow his channel, folks. You'll see the transformation. A lot of great content, much more interesting than you're going to get on my channel. So follow him. If you think he should put a Hellcat engine in here, comment below. All right, dude. Thanks for the sandwich.
Thank you.
Love the job. Everybody's going to follow you now. We're going to put a Hemi in there. Finally talked him into it.
Smooth 6'4".
Too smooth 6'4".
Smooth number 6'4".
Right on.
All on YouTube.
Go watch Jed, everybody. See you, dude. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right, let's jump in the car and finish this video up.
Proceed to the route.
All right, let's find somewhere to pull over to talk. All right, so let's talk about your credit and how to make it perfect before you apply for a car loan. So first, let's talk about the factors that are the most impactful on your credit score, and then we'll deal with each of those individually. So first, payment history is 35% of the impact. So if you have late payments on your credit, that's going to be hard to get around. If they're really old, you may be able to get them deleted with a great credit repair person, but be careful. There's a lot of shady ones out there, so you've got to find somebody who's referred to you that knows what they're doing. I'm not here plugging my lady and the guy that I have two folks, because frankly, they'd get overwhelmed. They're individual people that do this, but I will put their information below, and if they have the time and you get to them quick enough, maybe you can get them to do your stuff for you as well. Doesn't matter, you can still find somebody, but go by referral. Do some research, call some friends, and you'll be shocked to find that a lot more people than you think are actually using credit repair people to help manage their credit file to make sure that it's accurate. It's not about cheating, it's not about being slimy, it's not about trying to not take responsibility for things that you've done or things on your credit, but it's about controlling what's on your credit and making sure that you're as strategic as you need to be and you can legally be to make sure that you're treated fairly in the open market when it comes to applying for credit. Because the credit scores are downright unfair, and frankly, I don't think in many ways do they really convey the real borrowing power of somebody. We're all generalized and lumped into one big group that if you have a 800 FICO score, you're perfect. In my opinion, if you have an 800 FICO score and you're 26 or 25, you're probably on, you probably haven't had that bad moment in your life yet that cratered that score. So you're just an accident waiting to happen. Not generalizing, but that could be the case. Why do I know this? I was that guy. So here's the deal. If you're my age and you're bouncing between 650 and 750 on a regular basis because you use the hell out of your credit strategically to buy and sell things and run your business and everything else, then chances are I'm not going to default. I've already learned every lesson I've had to learn at this point, and I'm probably going to be okay. Plus, I've been in my career now for 29 years, and I've amassed a significant amount of reserve cash and wealth to be able to pull from in the event there was a catastrophic financial event. So for them to nail me hard at a 650 score, despite all those factors, is wildly unfair. But that is what they do. So it doesn't matter how great you are. I have people messaging me saying, I have an 800 FICO score and I made $150,000 last year. Do I qualify for a car? You qualify for a 747. Go apply for a private jet. At an 800 FICO score, they're going to give it to you. The problem is in 2 months from now, they're going to take it away from you and you can't pay for it. They're going to care less about your income than they do about their credit score. Fair? I don't think so, but that's how it works. It just is what it is. If you're late on payments, that's a big ding. If you've had collections, big thing. You've had bankruptcies, these kind of things, they're big things, but they're not insurmountable. You can get past them, and the more time between those events and when you apply, the better, and the more compensating factors, the better, and the more these circumstances you got into appear to be very isolated in time, the better, meaning you only had one late payment on one credit card, but everything else was perfect. They can pretty much deduce, and the system kind of does deduce, that chances are you just overlooked it. So it's going to hurt you for a little bit and then correct pretty quickly over a relatively short period of time. But if you have 3 or 4 or every one of your accounts went late, that's a problem. So that first one, which is payment history, is significant. So if you have late payments, there's not a lot you can do other than wait for some time to pass and those things to season and ultimately go away, or at least be far enough away and show that you're back on track. Not much I can do there. Credit Expert can still maybe help get rid of old ones, some of these things that are hurting you, some that maybe are incorrect, but for the most part, you got to deal with that. The next thing that's another 30% is the amount of debt, but more specifically, the revolving utilization is 30%. So you can make $200,000 a year and have one $1,000 limit credit card, let's say with Capital One, and you charged it up to $1,000, and you plan to pay it off every single month. But every month that card reports on the 4th day of every month, and unfortunately you don't pay it off until like the 7th day of every month. So every month that thing reports, it's reporting that you're at 100% credit utilization on your revolving debt. You're going to get killed on your FICO score. When I say killed, I mean it's like 50 plus points. I mean, it's brutal how bad they nail you for that. And what's tough is you make a couple $100,000 a year, and all you owe to the world is $1,000, and your credit is getting creamed because you just charge everything on that card. I charge everything on a credit card, and multiple credit cards sometimes, so I don't use my ATM card and put my ATM card number at risk. I've been frauded too many times out there and had my account hacked into too many times out there in the past to even take that chance anymore. So my ATM card is locked down. It's like if I need to get cash, that's the only thing I use it for. Otherwise, that thing doesn't come out of my wallet. And I use credit cards because if I get frauded and hit on those credit cards, credit card companies take that whole hit. And that's why they have insurance and everything else. So it's on them. If it's out of my bank account, for the most part, it's on me. So we use credit cards. So if you're doing that and you're not paying that thing off before the report date, then you're getting 100% utilization, and 30% of your credit score ties to that. Your score is going to go down. So something I learned from Sandy, my credit lady, is she helped find out every single date when my cards report. Now you can call your credit card companies and ask them, when do you report every month? And they will tell you. And then put calendar notes in your phone. So in my phone, every card I have has when they report in my calendar, so it reminds me 5 days before. So if I want to pay that thing off to control my FICO score, I can. These are things that aren't cheating, it's just common sense. But common sense, unfortunately, has been taught to most of us when it comes to credit reporting. Because the other issue is that these FICO scores, there's like 20 of them out there or more. You got the Vantage score, then you've got TransUnion, you've got Equifax, you've got Experian, but that's not where it ends. Then you've got mortgage scores, you've got auto scores. There's like 5 or 6 different auto scores. If they use Experian Auto Score 2, your score is different than Auto Score 5 or 8. So you need to know what your score is before you apply, and it's nice to know what score the bank uses that you're going to, but you're most likely not going to be able to know that. I've only had, I think, 1 or 2 banks actually be able to tell me who they use. Otherwise, I had to find out. Like I found out that Chase, when I bought the Range Rover and the Scat Pack, they were using TransUnion, and I was 739 on TransUnion, so it was a slam dunk to get those loans. No big deal, no questions asked, signed my name, got a great rate, moved on. Had they used Experian Auto Score 2, that score was like 670 or something, so that would have been an issue. I'm the same exact person, the same exact debt, everything, but one score was way better than the other. So what I figured out is all we can do is try to focus on these areas that impact us the most. So the next one being the amount of debt, we need to focus on making sure that we have, they say less than 30%, but the reality of it is it's like less than 1 or 2%. But I plan to use my cards. They are necessary in my life to protect my financial safety and security. So the way I look at it is if I can stay under 30% every single month, I'm good. And I tend to pay the cards off completely, generally every quarter. But in the meantime, my FICO score is getting hammered because I don't have really high limits. And if you don't have really high limits because you buy a bunch of cars or you have cards you run up periodically, then you can't get higher limits. So you're kind of trapped. So there's a secret called trade lines, adding trade lines. And I'll put a link in the description below to a company where you can buy trade lines. Sandy can coach you on that as well, and other credit repair folks, credit coaches can direct you to these companies as well. But what these basically are is you can buy a trade line that basically adds you to a credit card with a, let's say, a $20,000 limit to your credit as an additional user. And that will dramatically skew your utilization. So if you only have a couple cards, you're using those cards, and every month they're getting close to maxing out, and you can't keep control of the dates really well, an extra $20,000 added to your credit could throw those two. Even if you were to max them out, you would never get past 30% utilization. These are very strategic ways to drive your credit up. Now, don't go and do this irresponsibly. Do this wisely and make sure that the trade line that you're putting on your credit is an old trade line, because one of the other factors, which is here, is the length of credit history. Length of credit history. So if you add a trade line, let's say $25,000 to your credit, and let's say you paid $500 to add that to your credit, and that is a brand new card from 3 months ago, it's going to skew your length of credit history, which is another 15% impact to your credit. So you might hurt your credit as much as you help your credit, which doesn't make sense. So you want to make sure wherever you're hurting, you address those issues. So if that's your issue, then make sure you get a long credit history. If that's great and you don't care how old the card is, you just need the utilization bump, then pick one. They're a lot cheaper. That's a newer card, and you'll be just fine. What do I use to track all this stuff? I use MyFICO. I use MyFICO because the app is amazing, and I've had it for probably 10 years now, and it's easy to read, and it gives you all the versions of all the FICO scores. So when somebody asks me, what's your FICO score? I go, which one? Which one do you want to know? Do you want to know TransUnion, Equifax, Auto? You want Experian Auto? You want TransUnion Auto? You want, Equifax Auto? You want mortgage? You want cards? You want loans? You want install? Which FICO do you want? Because there's so many different ones, and they're all different to some extent. Next one is the amount of new credit. So that hit me really, really hard. I come under what they call poor, because all these cars in the last few months that got paid off and then new ones put on, they're all new accounts. So my amount of new credit is significantly more than my old credit, because I didn't use a ton of credit before then anyways. So that kills me, but it's only a 10% impact, but it's still something I need to deal with, and I can't really get around either, but I need to pay attention to, because it's gonna hurt my FICO score. So I've got to really compensate with the other areas being really good. Next is 10% is the credit mix. It says I'm exceptional because I have many different kinds of credit on here, whether it be cars or mortgage stuff or credit cards or installment loans, or I don't even know what else is on there. But bottom line is I've had a lot of different things over the years. So that's the areas. Payment history, amount of debt, so your revolving utilization, length of credit history, amount of new credit, and then credit mix. So inquiries fall into this as well. So inquiries can hurt you. I think it's usually around, what is it, like 10% or something like that. I'm looking here. Maybe it's around 10% or so. Bottom line is I had like 39 inquiries on my credit that from the last year, and most of them like the middle of this year when I was doing all the cars, and the dealerships were, even though I told them I told Toyota, run me through Toyota only and no one else. Over the next 3 days, I got hit Ally, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. They started running me through everybody. That's them shopping for better rates that they can marginalize. I get it. But I told them specifically not to. So based on my instructions to them, despite me signing an authorization for them to do this, my credit person, she took it upon herself to go and dispute those. And she got, out of 39, she got 37 of those inquiries deleted, which helped tremendously, and it's pushing my FICO score up. So keep that in mind. There are things you can get removed that are wrong. You know they're wrong. They were done to you wrongly, and you were stuck in a situation where you feel that there's nothing you can do, and there actually is something you can do. So in closing, the best advice I can give you is watch your credit every single month. Watch it often. Keep an eye on it. Make sure nothing pops up on there. Now, I pay close attention every single month, and sometimes I pay a little extra and I go and look again just to make sure right before I apply for something else. That way I know if there's something I need to tweak on there, I can call Sandy. She'll help me tweak it. She'll give me the right advice on the direction to go to, or I already know and I just pay down a card because there's a reporting date coming up and I can bounce that thing down, or I can pop a trade line on there real quick and I can throw my FICO score way up and make sure I get a good rate. So these things are very deliberate. very important if you want to get a great interest rate or get qualified for these loans. But I will end with this. Please be careful, because with this information, you can become very strategic in manipulating your FICO score. And if you do that, you can pretty much get your FICO score into the mid 7s, maybe even the 8s. And when you do that, you're dangerous. I mean, you could walk in anywhere and buy anything, even if you can't afford that thing. That's the big flaw in the system, is you can write any income down on a credit application, and they're never going to check it. If you got an 800 FICO score or a 750 FICO score, they're probably not checking anything. They're taking your word for it. And the problem is, you could hook yourself up into a payment you can't afford and end up repoing that car if there's anything that takes place in your life adversely that sends you into financial peril. And I do not want any of you to end up in that situation. Having great credit is a beautiful thing. Controlling it, manipulating it, being very strategic about it, you can definitely create a situation where you can go buy yourself into way more trouble than you could have ever imagined. So with this information, please be careful. Just don't go out and pop a trade line. You have perfect payment history like I do, and you're like, man, I just need more, my utilization's off, and I don't have a high enough limits on my card to get out from underneath that. I'm gonna go pop 25,000 trade line on my credit and sling my FICO score from 650 to 750, and then go buy myself this jailbreak for $100,000, and it's gonna take up 70% of my income, but I'll just figure it out. Don't do that. Don't do that. I can't say that enough times, that you get really great credit, you can get yourself in a lot more trouble than even with bad credit. But keeping an eye on it now, and now that I know that I can afford these things, I'm old enough, I built enough assets in the bank and equities and things to where it's going to be pretty hard to take me down, that I feel comfortable pushing my FICO score up, making sure that I get the great loans. And with these new cars, the Huracan and the jailbreak that I'm looking at, I want those loans to be really good. I want those rates to be really good, because I'll probably keep those cars a lot longer than I've kept any of these other cars due to all the crazy circumstances that took place last year. So with that, everybody, sorry for the long video, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was informative and it helped you. Please like, make sure you subscribe, stay motivated, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.